as a result of things that were sold in my behalf. But I thought that somebody who is the head of the Missouri Highway Patrol or the St. Louis authority that runs the airport had issued a decree that this was going to stop. I guess I was wrong, Mike.
Well, you're not wrong. We got a promise that this report, the MIAC report in question, was shut down, and the Lieutenant Governor has called for a full investigation. I personally spoke with key members of the legislature this morning, and all of them have told me there is no investigation planned. One senator's office actually went as far as to say, hey, the media is letting up on it. It's an old story. We're in the clear now. We don't have to worry about an investigation.
All right. Mike Ferguson, thanks very much for joining us. I appreciate it. So more and more of that all over the place?
You're seeing it, and it's happening, and it's going to get worse. But again, what are the rights? If it's another issue, and do you have to answer a police officer? Could you just remain silent, as he asked? He said, am I legally required to do this?
The law is different in different states. There's a famous Supreme Court case that came out of Utah just 2 years ago in which a guy refused to give the cops his name, and he was prosecuted for that, and the Supreme Court said that's a valid state statute. I happen to think such a statute is unconstitutional, but I'm not on the Supreme Court. But in the environment that Steve Bierfeld was in, he only would have to answer questions that have to do with, is he carrying anything that's contraband? And they already had patted him down, and they already had x-rayed it. In terms of, well, suppose he had the $4,700 in his wallet. Can they look in his wallet and say, how'd you get this cash? Absolutely not. Stossel is right on the mark when he says the only thing they can ask you about are things that you could use to harm someone on the plane. And there's a list of those things in the rules that Mike Chertoff promulgated when he created the TSA. Is this the camel's nose under the tent?
Sure, and you can see how it happens. The cops say, we're here to enforce the laws and stop drug dealers. And, wow, this gives us a new opportunity going through people's luggage. Who knows what we'll find? And I bet they found a lot of people with outstanding warrants when they were just trying to board a plane. And they think that's good law enforcement. If you're in a country with too many laws, and this strikes me when in the Times today they're talking about Joe Biden's daughter, Joe Biden, big drug warrior.
Right.
His own daughter accused of being a party girl who's caught using, and I'm sure he would protect her and try to keep her from being incarcerated. When you have too many laws and dumb laws like the drug laws, it's an invitation for the cops to abuse our freedoms all over the place.
Congressman Ron Paul joins us now. Congressman Paul, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Jerry Celente and John Stossel are here as well. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I said goodbye to you on Friday night at the Millennium Hotel in St. Louis, where 1,000 people, each of whom were trying to shake your hand or somehow touch you, I went to bed and flew home at 6 o'clock in the morning. On Sunday night of that weekend, one of the folks that works for the Campaign for Liberty was detained by the Transportation Safety Administration, interesting name, by the way, safety, for 30 minutes, in which they wanted to know who he worked for, what were the bumper stickers doing in his bag, how much cash was there, where did the cash come from, and what was he going to do with it. That was Steve Bierfeld, whom I know you know, and it was just on with us. And unfortunately for the government, but fortunately for freedom, he had one of those fancy new push-button or touch phones that when he tapped his chest, the phone recorded everything. How far is the TSA going to go? How far is the federal government going to go if they can ask people questions about things that have nothing whatsoever to do with the safe passage on the plane?
They're going to go as far as they're allowed to go. If we allow them to go, they're going to keep using their powers, and they'll extend their powers. I think this makes a very good point that safety on airplanes should be a private matter. I think the fact that we had trouble on 9/11 was the fact that we depended on the government. We weren't allowed to have guns. The airlines weren't responsible for our safety, and we ended up with a mess. And yet today, instead of going in the direction of putting all the responsibility on the airlines, who should ask the questions, and we should go under their conditions, and they should make us safe. I think can make carrying money across the city in an armored truck safe, why can't they be responsible? So once you get all these agencies, how many agencies were involved? Probably local police, the TSA, the FBI, and they were going to go down to and check the DEA and everybody else being involved. So it's totally out of control, and it raises questions about taxes. They want to collect taxes. They want to look for drug dealers. And I think the bottom of the list, I think they have not that much concern about safety. If they did, they would listen to how people could be made safe without taking away all our freedoms.
Just pointed out shortly before you came on with us, they could legitimately ask about weapons or things that could harm anyone, but how can the possession of cash possibly pose a danger to the other passengers on that plane? And why were they threatening to bring Steve to the DEA, to the Drug Enforcement Administration? There wasn't a hint, a whiff, a scintilla of the violation of any drug laws. And when he said to them, "Sir, am I legally required to answer these questions, Congressman?" they could not answer him.
Right. And, this shows you the danger of profiling. Maybe he was profiled because he had a Ron Paul bumper sticker. I've been a little bit disappointed because I have worked with the ACLU on various privacy issues, but we haven't heard too much. I don't know if you've heard anything from them on this issue, but it seems to me that the whole issue is profiling and screening people and prejudging people. And whether this was the case with Steve or not, I don't know, but this whole episode out there with the Missouri police is something that we should be concerned about, and hopefully we can continue to build a coalition with principled liberals as well as principled constitutionalists and make sure that we put reins on our government, because you ask me how far they go, they're going to go as far as they can unless the people stand up and said we've had enough and we're not going to put up with it anymore.
Let's switch to the G20. What do you think the president's goals are in London this week, and what do you fear he might do?
Well, he's very popular. Nobody else seems to be very popular over there. What I'm so fearful about was what I saw in the demonstration by the tens of thousands of people who are very angry. They should be angry, rightfully so, but I'm afraid their anger is misdirected because they're blaming freedom and lack of regulations. And the countries of Europe, as well as Obama, they think that they can compensate for inflation, borrowing, and spending, and big government, all the mistakes they made, they can compensate by just writing more regulations. But this time, they're going to have international force, and behind the scenes, I'm quite convinced that they're talking about what will replace the dollar reserve standard, because the dollar reserve standard financial system has come to an end, and they themselves don't know what is going to be replaced. But fortunately for us, what they're going to do is not easily done. The only easy thing to do to bring people back to being confident once again is to have money of real value. So maybe we are on the verge of a grand debate on the monetary issue, but we have a long way to go before we can predict victory.
What do you think the president wants to accomplish there? I mean, when Gordon Brown was here, and by the way, Peter Schiff just joins us by phone. Peter, Congressman Ron Paul is on from the Capitol Rotunda. Jerry Celente and John Stossel, whom you know well, are here in the studio with me, Judge Napolitano, and I know you're having a crazy day, and we appreciate you joining us. Well, the most fearful phrase I heard, in fact, I thought of Stossel when I heard this, was when Gordon Brown addressed the joint session of Congress 2 weeks ago, and he said, "I'm hopeful for a global New Deal." What under the sun was he talking about, Congressman Paul? What do you fear is the worst that can come out of the G20 from the standpoint of freedom in America?
Well, internationalizing all regulations dealing with the financial markets, and then once again, internationalizing a new reserve standard. And then they still are under the belief that if they create money, they create wealth, because we ourselves have been living that way for a long time, not realizing all we were doing was building up debt. So they think if they all get together and endorse some standard, they can create SDR, special drawing rights, out of the clear blue, and they can create wealth and centralize power worldwide. So yes, I think those statements of Brown really coincide with what Obama would like to do. And since Obama is a very, very popular person, not only here but around the world, he would play a key role in this. It's just tragic that they don't believe in freedom anymore, and they don't trust the system, and that they've fallen into the trap that we've had too much freedom, too much capitalism, and that all we need is more government, and we have to sacrifice more of our liberties. It's a very dangerous situation that we're in, but at the same time, I sense that there's a lot of people in this country who are waking up, but right now I think we still are in the minority, but our idea